Okay, so I finally got my drill press working. This is a Harbor Freight 12-speed drill press that originally had a pulley system, and you used the different size pulleys to adjust the speed, and it had a small AC motor on the back. So I've replaced that with a DC motor from a Treadmill, along with the speed control unit from the Treadmill. And now up front we've got an on-off switch for the AC power, and this controls the speed, and this is also sort of a dead man switch, so pushing that in when it's running will kill power to the motor. Now, this thing's got a pretty hefty flywheel on it. I left it for a couple reasons. Number one, it helps keep the motor from stalling, and also this is a centrifugal fan, so as the motor spins, it pushes air out. Without that, the motor doesn't have any kind of fan, and I wanted to keep it cool, so I decided to keep that. But because of that, even when you kill power, it'll continue to spin for a little bit because of the momentum. This is just a choke on top. This is sits in between the output of the speed control and the motor. Helps it start and helps it run smooth. Everything else is basically just wiring. It's to keep the wiring away from the treadmill. The flywheel. Now the problem I'm having now is I'm running a V belt, and it's not a very deep V belt either. On a grooved pulley, and it has a tendency to walk up. When I put tension on the belt, it makes this whole, I don't know if you can see that, it makes this whole plate tilt slightly. I mean, even the bolts flex a little bit, so because of that, the motor sits slightly canted forward, the axis is slightly forward, and that makes the belt want to walk off the end. The only thing right now keeping it from doing that is the wooden mount for the speed control. So what I'm probably going to do, I haven't really had much luck finding a pulley that would fit this. I'm just going to take power up the motor without the belt on it, take my angle grinder and make a groove. Essentially just cut a V groove, just enough to keep the belt in place. And hopefully that also solves the problem I'm having where the belt's wanting to twist on the pulley. So this is a 34-inch belt. I got a little bit of adjustment range either way by loosening up these bolts. This is just where the original motor mount was. It kind of helps keep everything tight, but not strictly necessary. So anyway, first step, AC power. Now the nice thing about the dead man switch on the DC is this speed control has what they call a soft start feature. That's to prevent your treadmill from starting out at maximum speed. But I haven't disabled that feature, but with an on-off switch in the center line of the potentiometer, it allows me to turn it on and off and keep it in the same position. So that's it. The next step would be to make a stroboscopic wheel, and I'll be able to see where I need to put my calibration marks on the speed control dial. So 300 RPM. Most of the time I use this for drilling metal, so I generally only go at low RPM anyway. In fact, the entire time I had it prior to this, when I had it on the original AC motor with the pulleys, I never even changed the pulley settings. I always kept it on the lowest speed, which is pretty much what you want for metal most of the time. But now I have the ability to vary the speed infinitely, and it'll get going quite fast here. Now I don't have any kind of guard or anything on this motor belt right now. I mean, I might put something over it later. The original guard wouldn't have cleared the flywheel on the treadmill motor anyway, so I've discarded that. I could probably just put a piece of metal or something here, but if the belt snaps, I always wear eye protection anyway, but if the belt were to snap, it can definitely give you a nasty bite. So I was originally going to mount the speed control the other way. I was a little bit concerned about metal chips flying up into it, even though it's pretty far away from the work area. So I mounted it upside down. I had some rubber coating, some aerosol rubber coating that I applied to the board, and I think it was causing one of the large resistors to overheat. So I ended up just peeling most of that off. So I think it's okay right now. I may revisit that later. It doesn't really even get particularly warm. And I think being upside down like this will help deflect any bits. You know, I can always cover up the front with something in the back. But that's about it. Now I've got a fully adjustable, without having to change any pulleys. Got a few little tweaks to do to the belt system and the pulleys themselves, but overall, I'm glad this thing's finally working. It's been a project. Thank you.